Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another First Impressions and Garage Gun Talk video. And as I'm sure you can tell from the title of this video, you know it's probably going to get a little bit spicy, but I'm going to try not to make it that way because this is all part of a dialogue that I have had with some of my viewers, and I understand their passion and their concerns because they live in California. But we're going to save that more for the end because I want to do the first impressions first. I always say that, first impressions first. It's very redundant. But I was able to, in the past day, take two things to the range for review. They might not be all that exciting, but I always want to share my experiences with you, and they're both optics because I got to get these optics reviews out. Let's do maybe the easy one first here to talk about. The first thing is a red dot, and as you can see, I have my SIG P365 optic ready out. And the red dot we're reviewing now is the Hilux TD3E, I think is the model. Now this is a really interesting red dot that I like the concept of, but man, has it disappointed me. So it's a fully enclosed red dot. And something you might notice is it is relatively small because it does fit on the RMSC footprint. It has pretty much the same kind of controls you would expect from all of the budget red dots. But this one has a unique feature and accessory that I love the concept of, but it has been poorly executed. You might notice that this red dot has kind of a reinforced hood. And that is actually a separate part. So when I unbox this, you have the basic red dot, and then you have this, I believe it's steel hood that kind of goes around it. And I was like, that is a really cool idea because it does add some thickness and heft to the gun and the optic itself. However, it's going to add a lot of durability. And I can see some people say, hey, that is a really cool idea, maybe the way you like to run your guns, to have that hood on there. And it is very secure because it uses the same screws on the bottom, and it just mounts around the dot. So, of course, I wanted to review it with the hood on. There's one big problem, though, with it. If you want to run the dot itself without the hood, and it says it's optional, the screws that they provide are the wrong length. They only provide you with extra long screws so you can use the hood. But if you don't want to use the hood, you have to find screws elsewhere. And I dug through every box I have because I have reviewed so many red dots. I have a lot of screws that are the right thread pitch for this, but either the heads are shaped wrong where they will not go into the sight correctly, or they're the wrong length. So if they're going to provide this really cool accessory, they have to provide more screws of various lengths, because if you choose not to run the hood, you have to have ones that are shorter. The other problem is the hood itself was out of spec. I had to drill out the holes on the bottom for it to go over the posts in the RMSC cut on the P365. And I also had to bend it because it has this channel in it. So it's not like it's one piece. I guess it is one piece, but underneath it's like the two wings come together, and it gives you a little bit of play to move things around. Well, the mount was like this, so I had to put it in my vise, and I had to literally bend the wings to be even. Then when I tried to mount it on the pistol, the holes for the posts were too small, so I had to get out a drill, and I had to drill those out. I eventually got it on, but the problem is, you can probably see I marred up the finish on the hood in my vise just trying to get this damn thing on. It was a nightmare. I mean, it literally took me 45 minutes to get this thing to work. But once it's on, it's actually pretty cool, and I like it. So if they could fix that, it'd be great. But the mounting of it and the fact it was out of spec makes it I don't think the average person would spend time making it work. Now, when I took it to the range, it worked pretty good. The reticle on this one is very much like the EOTech Donut of Death. So it's like a round circle, and you have a single dot in the center. And it's really good. You can use it with both eyes open. The glass is clear. It's bright. It's kind of the perfect size. I really like it. And normally on pistols, I don't like the bigger reticles. But it works on this one. However, I can't recommend it because of the mounting. The other issue is, even though I ended up using their supplied screws, which do have a little bit of blue Loctite on them, and I installed them a couple of days ago, they still come loose when you fire the gun. So after every few magazines, I would take the tool out and I could tighten them back down again. So it's just not a great mounting. The problem with this red dot is the mounting. And I think the best I'm going to be able to give it is going to be, honestly, 2.5 stars. Probably 3 if you're, a competent, like, kind of workbench gunsmith and can, like, bend things and drill things out. But I think for the average person that doesn't do anything with guns, doesn't want to get out drill bits and modify things, this is not going to work for them. And then they're going to go, wait, I have the wrong length screws, it's not working, it's going to be a nightmare. So I think 2.5 stars, but 3 if you were anybody else. So that's what I'm going to give this. But otherwise, it performed well. It holds 0. I like the reticle, no flickering, and it's really bright. So the Hilux TD, I think it's the 3E is the model. TD-3E. So that one I have to film the garage portion of the range report or product review on. The other thing I took to the range is this guy right here, and it is a Sightmark Latitude. This is an 8-32 by 60 rifle scope. It's a F-class reticle, so it has a very, very tiny 0.6 MOA dot. It doesn't really have, of course, when it comes to my style of shooting, I am not a fan of the very complicated reticles because I'm not somebody that's worried too much about bullet drop and all that kind of stuff. I'm typically shooting at one distance, 100 yards, 200 yards, maybe. And I'm not someone that's calibrating the scope for various things. I'm a very simple man when it comes to my rifle scope. It's very simple. And the F-class reticle works perfect for me. However, this one is illuminated, and that little dot is too small when it comes to the center of that reticle, which in theory would give you a very precise indicator of where you're aiming. But it's so small that if the target is too bright or too dark, you lose it. And when you use the illuminator on the or the electronics inside, the illuminator, which both has 5 settings for red and green, even on the brightest settings, you can barely see it. I changed the battery out to 3 different batteries to make sure it was properly charged, and it's just too dim. The scope itself is nice. The build is really good. I'm very impressed with the build quality of Sightmark scopes. I mean, the thickness of everything on it. It feels like a durable scope. The turrets, the clicks are fantastic. When it comes to the adjustments for like the parallax for the various distances, the fine focus on the eyepiece, everything is great. And it passes one of the things I'm always critical of, which is eye relief. I say that I'm eye relief sensitive, and I don't like it, especially on higher magnification scopes where my eye has to be very close to the eyepiece. This one, maybe because it's the size of the eyepiece, which it's relatively big. In fact, it's so big, I could not install the device that I can hook my camera up to. It has very nice eye relief. In fact, I probably could have mounted this further forward and still been very comfortable. But it is unforgiving when it comes to any motion up, down, left, or right. So when you get it dialed in, let's say you're at 24 magnification, great eye relief, but man, if your eye moves even just a little bit, just one way or the other, you lose everything. It's unforgiving in that way. So it's kind of weird, and I'm not really sure what you call that. I know eye relief is distance, but what do you call it when your eye is not straight? What is the proper term for that? Some people call it eye relief. It's not parallax because it doesn't affect the position of the reticle on target, but it's just unforgiving in that way. So I didn't like that, especially at higher magnification. So aspects of this scope are fantastic, and I think hit way above its price point. And then other things definitely, in my opinion, need a little bit of work. As I said, the illuminator on the reticle, to get that dot to just to be seen, it needs much brighter settings. It needs much brighter. Yeah, it's just too dark. I mean, even if I made the lights in here super dim, I can still barely see it. And at my range, my longer distance range, it's well lit. I couldn't even see it. So that, in my opinion, needs to be worked on. And when it comes to whatever you call it, it's not eye relief, but if your eye moves up, down, anyway, if it is not perfect, you lose the entire sight picture. But its field of view is good. The glass is clear. I like a lot of it. So that's what I have to do there. So if you guys can help me, tell me about the term or how I should describe it. Once again, it's not distance from the eyepiece. It's right, left, up, down. You know, like the Konami code, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. You know, if you ever played Contra back in the 80s. But yeah, it's not parallax. What is that term? Or how would I describe that? And you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the most unforgiving scope at anything above 14 magnification I've ever seen. I mean, and once you shoot, and this is just kind of a basic AR-15, man, you lose it and you got to take time and find it again. It's kind of annoying in that way. So anyway, that is my thoughts on that. So as I said, not too exciting on the first impressions, but I do need to get these optic reviews done. So I have 4 things to do. I have these 2 optic reviews. I still need to do the Smith & Wesson Shield X and the OSS suppressor. I have all the stuff edited. I just have to come out here to the garage and do the last part of it. So anyway, that was that. So now we need to talk about the F word. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to install another part on my Mark 12 Mod H. So let's talk about that real fast. Yeah, you guys are getting a long video tonight. And I'm sorry I haven't made more content. I have been super duper busy the past few days. That's crazy busy. Anyway, I got my safety selector switch in that I wanted. And this is not necessarily a clone correct one, but it's made by the company that makes the clone correct ones, which is Schmidt Tool. I think it's called Schmidt Tool. And you know it because it has, of course, it's not going to show up here. Maybe right there. It has a little S. Now, this is a company that manufactures these for Colt and FN. So if you ever see an FN M16 or M4, it has this type of ambi safety selector switch. You have the shorter one on the right side, longer one on the left, and it has that type of attachment. Now, when Schmidt makes it for those other companies, they will actually put on the cage codes for those companies or the markings that they need for that. Now, to get those, they're pricey, but you can just buy it right from Schmidt, which, by the way, it's not Schmidt with a T, it's Schmidt with a D. But you can just get it with their markings. In fact, a lot of the old Colt rifles, the civilian ones, will have this marking as well. They also make like hammers, disconnectors, and like small parts for ARs. So it will essentially be the correct part. It will look the part. It just won't have like the cage code on it that the military ones would have. And I went with that just because it's a little bit more affordable, and I'm not really caring too much about every part on this one being exact. I just want the right look. So I got this in the mail today. So we're going to install this while I'm talking. So we'll see once again if I can multitask. Okay, so let's talk about the F word. Now, of course, the F word is FUDD. Oh, and I just realized I have to get an Allen wrench for this thing. Let me go get my Allen wrenches. Hopefully, one that will work is in here. This is my most commonly used ones. So I made a video a few days ago, actually 2 videos. One was in regards to the Glock ban in California, and one was regarding the gentleman who built an FRT trigger, or 3D printed one, and installed it at the range on a rented rifle, and then he got in a lot of trouble. The ATF or FBI or whatever raided him in DC, and some people are upset about it. And I said it's an example of FAFO. You know, F around and find out. Like, why would you do that? If you're going to break the law or do something like that, don't do it in public, you know? And I had somebody in the comments, I won't call him out by name. I think he's a nice guy. He's commented on many of my videos. And he lives in, I believe, lives in California. And so I understand his frustration and his passion. And he said that I got it completely wrong, and essentially I'm sounding like a FUD. Because my advice is to everybody, number one, I have to have the official position of the Texas Gun Vault, which is, I advise you to follow the law of your jurisdiction. Okay, that is the official position, because I am not here to encourage you to do anything illegal. I do not encourage you to do anything illegal. Now, with that said, you're a grown person. You can make your own choices, but I have given you my personal official opinion as Jason from the Texas Gun Vault. So you do you, I do me. You know how I feel about it, okay? I also believe that when it comes to fighting for our rights, it is better that you are a free person that can donate time, money, and energy for the cause. You don't help the cause by being in jail and being used as an example of why the gun community is bad. Now, you might have stood up for your rights and said, I'm not going to take this anymore, and I'm going to break the law, I'm going to, which is fine. As I said, I support you. But because I say don't break the law, I don't think it makes me a FUD, okay? And I'm not saying don't fight for your rights. I'm not saying that at all either. I'm just saying that you have to be strategic in how you go about things. So, for example, if you say, shall not be infringed, the ATF can't create law, you go create an illegal machine gun, or you build an FRT trigger, and you install it, and you go to all these guys, and you dare people to come after you. Well, then when the police come and arrest you, great, you're standing up for your rights, shall not be infringed, I will not comply. But how is that going to help you if you're behind bars? It's not. Now you can't feed your family. You can't pay your bills. You're in a world of hurt. Now, I also will say, you know what? It's honorable. You stood up for what you believe. Sometimes people are willing to fight for things they know they're going to lose because it's the right thing to do. So, for example, the Battle of Thermopylae, right? We all know the story of 300, right? Where 300 Spartans stood up at Thermopylae against the entire Persian army, okay? And it took them a while to be taken down. They all knew they were going to die, but they stood up for what they believed. Same thing here in Texas with the Battle of the Alamo. The Alamo defenders knew they were fighting a lost cause against the Mexican army, but they fought to the last man because that's just what they believed in. They believed in it so much. And if you believe in your right to make an FRT, or your right to make an illegal machine gun or a silencer, of course, I don't want you to hurt anybody. You're not doing anything illegal with it. You're not doing anything to do any of that. You just possess it or create it and, go to the gun range and shoot with it. And you're willing to go to jail for that and to be made an example of and to be the test case, to fight it in court, and be willing to sacrifice everything for. And once again, I'm sorry about my dog. She's always barking. I admire that. There is honor in that because you're standing up for what you believe. Okay, and I think it's great. But don't expect me to go out of my way to defend it when I believe your efforts are better served going to rallies, organizing, voting, helping gun rights organizations, donating to lawyers and Second Amendment causes. I think that's the better way to do it. It might not be as cool and sexy in your mind. You're not going to go down in history where people remember your name. But I think it's more effective that way, that you do things the right way. Now, I also have something else to say, which is going to be unpopular for a lot of people, okay? But hear me out until the end of this. One of the things I tell people, and I am completely aware of, that I am extremely blessed living here in Texas. Extremely blessed living in Texas because of our gun laws. I mean, I have things here on the workbench that people in other states around the country cannot have and never will be able to have, okay? And I look at the political landscape and go, those laws are not going to change anytime soon. I mean, as much as I wish that they would, realistically, if you look into your heart, you know, you're not going to be able to get an AR-15 in New York anytime soon. You're not going to convince people to change their vote. You're not going to get those laws passed, and you're not going to get courts in New York to change it. So it's not going to happen, okay? Could it happen? Well, anything theoretically can happen, okay? Anything theoretically can happen. So it's not impossible, right? However, it is extremely unlikely, and it is so unlikely that I would be willing to bet tens of thousands of dollars that in the next decade we will not see AR-15s legal in New York or California, okay? And have the same rights that I do here in Texas, okay? That is, I am willing to take that bet because it's not going to happen. As much as I want it to happen, I realistically look at the political and legal landscape and realize it's not going to happen. Okay? That's just being a realist. Being a realist doesn't mean that I'm a Debbie Downer or that I support the law. And you have to separate those two because you have to be strategic. Now, what are the things I tell people all the time that complain about their gun laws? They say, Jason, you don't understand what it's like living in California. And you're probably right. I truly don't. I feel for you, but you have a choice, okay? I'm not originally from Texas. I moved here. Now, it wasn't because of guns, but I moved here for other reasons because I have, and you have, if you live in the United States, the freedom of mobility. If you don't like California because you can't own the guns you want to have, let me tell you, we would love to have you here in Texas. We would love to have more Second Amendment loving people. If you live in New York, you live in New Jersey, you live in California, you live in Oregon, you live in Washington, you live in Illinois, and you are a like-minded person, please move to Texas. We would welcome you with open arms. And you could come here and live free. There's no state income tax, and you can get the guns you want. Now, when I tell that to people, they always say, Jason, you don't understand. I live and work here. This is where I was born. Okay, I can appreciate that too. You have roots. You have roots there. You have family. You're connected to those places and you want to fight for it. As an outsider, I think and go, it's a lost cause. California, in my lifetime, lost cause. New York, lost cause. I mean, New York City is getting ready to elect a completely socialist mayor, like off the charts communist. What can I do? I can't do anything. So I look at it and go, how are you going to turn that around and make it palatable for the Second Amendment? You're just not. It's not going to happen. So, to all those people that say, I can't move because I have a job, I have family, this is where I respect that. But you know what? If you're here in the United States, at some point in your past, or in the past, one of your ancestors somewhere at some time said, you know what? Where I'm living is a shithole. And I am willing to pack up everything I have to move somewhere else where I think I have better opportunities. Now, everyone's situation is different. I know looking back at my own family tree, I have ancestors that came from Great Britain, England, Germany, okay? Those areas. And they immigrated to this country in the 1800s, early 1800s, some of them in the 1700s, according to all the genealogy stuff that people in my family have done. So at some point, I mean, if you're thinking about like the 1800s, moving, your family has been in Germany for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And you're like, this place now sucks ass. I am willing to sell everything I have, get on a boat, put my wife, my kids, and go to a country that I have never been to before, I don't speak the language of, because there's better opportunities there than living where I'm at. And they took a risk. They went into the unknown. And in the 1800s, going across the Atlantic Ocean is like today traveling to the moon, okay? It's not like it is today where we can get on a plane and I can be in England in 8 hours or whatever? It's not like that. That was months and months, and you might not survive the journey. But that journey was worth the risk to get out of where they were, to make a better life for themselves. So if you're complaining about your situation and saying to yourself, I can't move, I have a job, I have a nice house here, well then those things are more important to you than these things. I do respect that, because we all have to have, what's important to us in mind. And we all have to prioritize. That's okay. But I think that many people in California, New York, the usual states, the usual, suspects, as we might call it. If you don't like California's Glock ban, Texas will welcome you with open arms. Bring your wealth here. Set up shop here. Find a job here. Other states like Oklahoma will welcome you. Florida will welcome you. There's lots of red states that will welcome you. And you could come and you could live in freedom. And some people say, well, if everybody moves away, nobody's fighting for those rights. Well, it's a lost cause. You can do the honorable thing and be like, I will fight to the last man in California. I'll be the last person on a ballot that's voting Republican. I'll be the last one in the entire state. Well, good. Good for you. But you still never get what you want. You never are able to achieve freedom. You're never able to get what you deserve. So if you do live behind enemy lines, and I say that, and some people don't like it when I say that, because they think I bifurcate the country. Well, let's just be honest. I am not welcome in New York or California. The things that I believe in, the things that I stand for, I'm not welcome in those states. They don't want me there. So why do I want to be there? Why would I want that? Oh, by the way, there you go. That selector is now in like it should, and it looks correct. Love it. Easy install on this one. So if you say that I'm a FUD because I'm not willing to, fight to the last man in California, it's not my fight. Not my fight. And people say, well, the fight could come to you. And you're absolutely right. But you know what? If we all band together, you all move to Texas, you all move to Oklahoma, the odds of them being able to attack our state's Second Amendment rights will be greatly diminished, because there'll be more of us to vote, to rally, to support the cause. But right now, we're just too disparate. What is the point of being an extreme minority in California when you can't change the culture there, and you're not going to change the culture? So you can call me a FUD. I understand that you're passionate. I do, and I respect it. And if you're somebody that's like, I'm going to fight to the very last, I'm going to be the one that stays here, I'm not going to give up, I respect that. You are the Spartans at Thermopylae. You are. But guess what? All the Spartans at Thermopylae died. They all died. They died in honor. They died in battle. And we remember them. But while they were mortal beings on this earth, they were not able to relish in their victory, to relish in their freedom. So the choice is up to you. I respect whatever decision you make. I do. If you stay, I honor your fight. I support you. If you decide to move, there is no shame. But let me tell you, there are places in this country that will welcome you with open arms. We get too many people moving here from the blue states that are changing our politics. So the more people that think like us in the community together, the stronger we'll be. So there you go. That is my garage gun talk and rant for the night. So tell me, are you still upset with me if you're somebody that disagrees with me? Or do you kind of understand what I'm saying? And I'm not saying there is a right or wrong answer, the winning solution. I'm just telling you my thoughts. And I completely know how blessed I am to be here in Texas and get to enjoy this. But calling me the F word, the FUDD word, I don't think is appropriate. But as I said, the people that did, I forgive them because they're in a nasty situation to be living in California right now with all the BS that's going on there and the assault on their Second Amendment. They're passionate, and I appreciate that. So I just want good dialogue. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the optics. I guess that's it. So if you watch to the end of this video, the word of the day is going to be mobility. Mobility is the word of the day because you have the freedom of mobility. If where you live is a shithole, a Second Amendment shithole, you can move. Remember, somebody in your past, even the Native Americans came over the land bridge from Asia because they're like, whatever their situation was, 30,000 years ago, this place sucks. We're going to go over this land bridge to a place we don't even know what's there. They risked everything. People risked and sold everything to get out from under the boot of tyranny. You can pack up your stuff. You can find a job. You can move to a free state. You don't have to live where you do. So that's all I got for you. So, as always, thanks for watching.